Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
Headshot, bang.
My mic's muted. Not a great start. Well, pay-per-view might be on life support. My microphone was on life support to begin the show. Pay-per-view's not dead yet. We're live on pay-per-view this weekend, Kenny. It's a whole new world out there, but pay-per-view's not dead yet.
I love it, man. I am pumped up for this card, dude. I've been waiting for this card for a very long time. I feel like there's been a great energy around this card, and you have to be pretty fired up about it as well, man.
Good to have everybody with us live. It is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Sorry for the 24-hour delay. It is episode 562 of the Anik and Florian podcast. Today's episode of the Anik and Florian podcast brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Needless to say, the bulk of the program will center on UFC 319. I said at one point in time that I'm not sure promotionally we could put a better fight together in terms of just chaos, unpredictability, electricity, offense in MMA than Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev, and that is our reality this weekend. But in the nature of not sort of burying the elephant in the room and the lead, if you live in the United States of America, big things when it comes to the UFC's television future, Kenny. It's a 7-year deal, $7.7 billion, Paramount Plus, right? So the ESPN era or the ESPN MMA era is over as of December 31st, 2025. You know, you and I experienced a lot of different things in television. We cut our teeth at ESPN. We were both at Fox together. We saw that entire Fox MMA sort of reset their professional lives. There are a lot of different layers to it. I mean, front of mind for me are my ESPN colleagues, but we're going to unpack more than, of course, that angle today. But what were your thoughts being a little bit removed from the situation right now when you saw the news come down the pike?
Out with the old and in with the new, huh, John? Yeah, no, it's crazy to see the evolution of the sport. I say this all the dang time, whether I'm talking about the fights, the fighters, the training, the magnitude of each and every event, and now the magnitude of this huge contractual deal with CBS and Paramount. It's unbelievable just how in demand this sport is. It continues to grow. I thought it was an interesting comment. What was it like maybe a couple weeks ago when Dana said we were going to look at something, or we're going to be looking at something more global. So I knew it was going to be even bigger than the last deal, but congratulations to everyone involved, man. This is huge. Curious to see what this means for the future of the fighters and the organization, but yeah, absolutely massive.
So it seems as though Paramount Plus does have visions of maybe trying to secure some of the UFC's global rights internationally outside of the United States of America. That remains to be seen. But right now under the deal, if you don't know the particulars, Paramount will exclusively distribute the UFC's entire slate of 13 marquee numbered events and 30 fight nights on its streaming platform, Paramount Plus. Select numbered events will also be simulcast on CBS. All of this begins in earnest January 1st or thereafter, 2026. It's absolutely crazy, right? I could spin this thing for 15 minutes a number of different ways, right? But the pay-per-view model as we know it is going to cease to exist in mixed martial arts, and that is a huge thing for fans in the U.S. Now, for $8, you can get Paramount Plus with ads, and I think $12.99 a month without ads. Now, anyone who has ingested the Anik and Florian podcast over the years knows that nobody will have a bigger fucking temper tantrum for Wi-Fi issues than me. I'm in a hotel today without great Wi-Fi, and it's giving me tremendous anxiety already. So I don't know about that app versus ESPN Plus. I know that my podcast partner and dear friend Kenny Florian has had major streaming issues on the ESPN Plus application. So we're hopeful that Paramount Plus will be great in that area. I'm sure Great Lengths will be gone too, because there figures to be an exponential rise in subscriptions, Kenny, on Paramount Plus. But,
Right.
you know, I'm someone who likes change in general, and I'm very excited about the future.
Paramount Plus better get it right, get it tight with these huge fight cards. No, I'm already actually a member, so I'm a big Taylor Sheridan fan. So I watch all the Yellowstone and all those shows. And the fact that they're adding UFC to the equation is going to be huge for me. I'm excited about that. And but anytime I've used Paramount Plus, it's been good to me, John. So yeah.
All right, so what does it mean for the fighters? I think that is a chief concern for fight fans, and rightfully so. And this show is nothing if not a conduit for fight fans. By the way, thanks to everybody for supporting the show. We were nominated for a World MMA Award in the programming category for a third consecutive year. And there's just no greater honor for this little show, this tiny team, to get that type of recognition alongside, our peers and contemporaries and shows with far bigger staffs than ours. It just means the world to us. So thank you all for that. But what does it mean for the fighters? Chris Weidman had some long-winded comments about this. They were repurposed on MMA Junkie. Largely, I agree with him. The onus is going to be on the managers to get bigger guaranteed purses without a pay-per-view world existing. But Kenny, the pay-per-view numbers recently, in a broad general sense, haven't necessarily been great. Those aren't always peeled back like me, right? But so I do think it stands to reason that a lot of these champions maybe weren't, realizing financial freedom with the pay-per-view model, and will do very well, I think, in deals now, getting bigger guaranteed purses. But, fighters don't have a piece of the television deal. They have not collectively bargained as a group for any piece of the television deal. And that, I think, is disappointing for fight fans, that they won't have a chunk on paper of this TV deal.
Yeah, but it could equate to something else, on the positive side, and the hopeful side of things. Maybe it frees up more cash where, the UFC has that money ahead of time and, can look at the numbers that each fighter is bringing in. And of course, that's always going to vary fight to fight, fighter to fighter. And maybe it just means more money directly in for their contract than it is, relying on some kind of
right.
Percentage of the pay-per-view. So I don't know, that's the hope. And again, it's just a huge, massive deal for the UFC. It shows, how it is contending with some of with the biggest leagues in the world. And, I think overall it's going to be a net positive.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a net positive for the fighters. And Dana White has alluded to the fact that there might be a one-off pay-per-view if there was a fight that really necessitated that type of platform or price. And, when I started paying for Netflix, I think I was paying $7.99 or $8.99 a month. And now I'm paying like $24.99 so that even, my cousin's cousin can fucking use it, right? You pay for more devices or whatever, but prices go up. So, I think a lot of fans are not blind to the fact that Paramount Plus at one point in time is going to be at a higher price point than it is right now. I'd like to read this quote for you from Tom Aspinall. This is absolutely breaking news to me. I have no idea. Guys like Ilia Topuria, they are like established pay-per-view stars. I'm not really a pay-per-view star yet. I don't know because I'm not a massive pay-per-view star, but I'm not selling a million pay-per-views, but I intend to. So how does that work? I don't know. I'm not sure. So won't be selling pay-per-views anymore. I think Tom Aspinall's guaranteed purse is going to be absolutely outstanding. I think he is one of two faces of the company right now. Ilia Topuria right there with him. I think Topuria's got the inside lane as far as like being on the cover of the next video game, which is but one barometer. But when Tom Aspinall suggested that Ilia Topuria is a pay-per-view star, respectfully to Tom, like, how does he know the extent to which Ilia is a massive draw in the United States? I think we can all sort of look at social media and look at magazines in Spain featuring Ilia Topuria that, yes, he feels like a global star / phenomenon right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that translates at the pay-per-view window. I think biggest picture of this for fighters, the exposure, right? That you're not having a monthly fee on ESPN Plus, but then still having to pay $79.99. Paramount Plus, you have that subscription. Even if fucking 8 years from now or 4 years from now, it's $17.99, you're getting every marquee UFC event, and you don't have to go purchase a pay-per-view. It's just on your app.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love the setup for me. I think it's going to be great as a fan who loves to watch all the events. So I'm excited to see where this goes, man. And as far as the fight nights, do we know where those are going to lie, or?
Yeah, so it's all 30 fight
all
nights
the same.
that are going to be on Paramount Plus at all the marquee events. And so I think
Yep.
that is really a critical part of this. We'll have more on the TV deal coming up over the next hour here on the Anik and Florian podcast. What does it mean for commentators, things like that? We'll get into that towards the end of the program. But we got an early riser on a Tuesday. Let's get to the Ray Longo minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Look at him! Look at the motherfucker! That's what I'm talking.
Oh, Jesus Christmas. Where are we?
What up,
Are
Ray?
you surprised? I mean, you always
it's-
hop in here and you're like, oh, whoa, wait.
Holy crow.
We're right here. We're not going anywhere like DMX.
What day is it? What day is it?
It's Tuesday, man. I mean, it's,
Holy shit,
you know,
man.
you may be the star of the show, but Ken Flo owns and operates 51% of Anik and Florian LLC. He has to move the show to Tuesday. I mean, are you
Holy
issuing a complaint here? What's the deal?
No, definitely not. No complaint at all. I'm
man.
just delirious at 11 o'clock in the morning. I want to know what day it is. That was it. Had nothing to do with Ken Flo. And
Dude, he's
moving the
frozen like
day.
Elsa for me.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right.
Who froze?
I'm having some Wi-Fi issues, Ray, but it's great to see you. How was your weekend, my man?
Very good, very good. We had a couple of guys win amateur belts. Tom Fitzsimons, what a great little fighter he is, man. Submitted a guy in I think the second round, but tough kid. He fought, and I put him to sleep. And oh man, Dimitri fought to a draw. Who else do we have winning belts? Wow. I mean, I think. Oh, did Rob Schultz? I don't know, but we had a shout out to Rob Schultz, Dave Mazur, Marty. Oh God, I'm blanking on everybody's names. I got to write everything down. But we had about 5 guys fight, but we came home with a couple of belts. Team did great.
Nice.
And, Kyle did great too. Everybody fought really, really well. So we had a great weekend.
Yeah, I kind of want to bust your balls a little bit, but my Wi-Fi isn't great. But in the future, if you write the names down before you come into the show, they'd all be right in front of you.
That'll help. I try to do everything off the cuff. Makes it more
I understand.
organic.
Well,
know what
right.
I mean?
No,
When
I
you
understand.
Start
I
reading a
understand.
statement.
Right. Yeah. All right, Ray. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the UFC's robust $7.7 billion 7-year television deal now with Paramount Plus. You watch every one of these 43 live events, and
Right.
you're watching on ESPN, and now it's going to be a whole new world. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that headline and maybe what you thought of it, my friend.
Oh, the headline for last week with Hernandez, or the headline of those of the what happened with the UFC buying, selling, whatever to Paramount. Which one were you talking about?
So is my connection that bad, or did you just not hear a goddamn word I said?
No, I can say it again. I can hear a little bit.
Oh, man.
Say it.
All right. You know what? Well, I was asking you about the TV deal, but yeah,
the
we
TV
have a
deal.
lot of
Yeah,
time
yeah,
to spend
yeah.
on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez if you want to.
No. You said something about I don't know. I thought that's what you were going to start out, but no, the TV deal is. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, more money for the UFC. We know that. I mean, to what? Listen, I'll tell you one thing. Forget about all the other thing you guys were talking about before that. Just to watch where this thing went, like being there at the beginning, it is absolutely fascinating. I mean, I was definitely there when they weren't making any money and they were struggling. And this is just such a lesson in business and branding and so many other things. I'm blown away by how they kept getting more and more money. Look, I'm always on more the fighters side too. I hope it just benefits the fighters. I mean, because up until this point, John, we're used to pay-per-view points, and I don't know how they're gonna, what happens now, because I know back when like Chris was fighting and all of these guys, pay-per-view points was a big deal. Chris had a couple of cards where he fought on with like McGregor and Rousey, and at that time it was just everything was exploding. And then he fought Anderson Silva, like big marquee names. always those events were doing 1 million, 1,200,000, 900,000, like big numbers. So I
Yeah.
know those guys counted on that. So I don't know how they're going to make up for that, but they definitely have the money. Maybe you start negotiating $1 million contract deals. I don't know. I mean, hopefully, now I do believe that the fight is, you need representation more than ever. I think, I think that's one thing. But look, hopefully, when you do deals like this, everybody benefits.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be bigger purses.
I mean, it should be.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm experiencing a little bit of, I think it's going to be bigger guaranteed purses for fighters. Chris Weidman's comments, I think, are very telling, right? He was a champion like 10 years before Aljamain Sterling. And even if you want to suggest that Weidman was a far bigger star than Aljo, he made more money as a champion, probably significantly than Aljo did. And necessarily be the case when you're talking about inflation in 10 years later.
Yeah. And John, I'm not fucking busting balls, but you are going in and out a little bit. So between that and my hearing being off, but yeah, no, Weidman was in the right spot at the right time. And I saw that firsthand. And it was always exciting. How many pay-per-views did you do? And I think it made the guys that would fight in that financial model really try to push themselves more too. Like, even with their social media and everything, just to get followers, to get more pay-per-view buys. So maybe it takes away the incentive on that end. I don't know. I mean, but what they did should benefit everybody, and I hope it's fair.
What do you think of Anthony Fluffy Hernandez's performance against Elite, man? I was blown away.
Yeah, now wait a minute. Would you guys feel weird if I answered that by talking about the deal again? I can't hear
what you want.
I can't hear a thing. Kenny, I'm in the dark over here. No. Well, I'm blown away by that performance. Come on, man. I mean, if that's what's called a statement performance. I mean, ragdolling a guy like DeLizzy, I thought, and I really thought DeLizzy's, physicality would come into play. I mean, almost a complete opposite. Like, it was a kid loves to fight. I love the way he talks. I love the fact that he's training out of his garage. You love all of those stories, because these big gyms get such, I think it's fucking bullshit, but they get a lot of, accolades, but then you get a guy like this coming out of his garage and he's a world beat. I mean, and he's been on a great tear, but this is a scrappy kid who loves to fight. He's getting better, and he's getting better and better every fight. Like, he had his discipline in this fight was really amazing.
They looked like they were in two different weight classes. And if I said before the fight that one of these guys is going to bully the other, you'd say, yeah, the bigger guy, of course, that's what's going to happen. And Hernandez just ragdolled. I mean, you could actually see Dolidze break in round 2. And from there, it seemed like he just took over.
Yeah. It's funny because I think Weidman compared him to like a Cain Velasquez on the post show. Well, shout out to Weidman. I think Weidman's killing it on those post shows and on the morning shows. I think I think he's got a great neck for that. But he it's funny, he had Merab in the corner, and it was like Hernandez was actually doing a Merab on Merab's friend. You know what I mean? It was just like relentless. And we'll see where he goes in the future, but he's got his place in the middleweight division, man. There's no question about it. He's gonna do fine.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really impressive. In regards to Hernandez, who do you want to see him fight next? Do you think he's ready for a title shot?
Look, he'll definitely, I think he alluded to, he wants the title shot. I'd like to see one more fight with like a Strickland or maybe Apollo Costa. And see where he's at, you know what I mean? And then I would definitely give him a title shot. But that performance, man, like everybody was blown away by that. That was one of those, there's fight nights where you talk about a couple of fights, and then there's fight nights where you go, holy shit. Did you see the way what that guy just did and the way he did it?
Yeah.
And the confidence in which he did it in. And again, I love the way he spoke afterwards. He kind of just is in there to fight. Looks like he's not one of those guys jerking around. And, you see him. You see him on social media in places where you shouldn't see him. He seems like, he's a family guy. He wants to do well for his family. And those guys are hard to beat, man. He's really, that performance was unbelievable.
And there are a lot of factors that are really working out for him, right? The middleweight championship is on the line this weekend. He is Kyle Bohalyo, who will weigh in as the backup, or Nassourdini Mavov. But you take advantage of this main event showcase to the extent to which he did. And you're right. Everybody's talking about this. Forget about the other things that happened on Saturday night. And even you can argue, forget about the TV deal, right? Like we talked to Anthony Hernandez in a couple of fighter meetings about the value of a main event and what it might. And to do this to a hardened veteran like Roman Dolidze is the stuff that just really has resonation deep into the weekend. He looked like a world champion. He looked like on any given Saturday night, he could be the best 185-pound fighter in the world. Yeah.
I'd like to see one more fight, but I agree with you 100%.
I agree.
And that was the sentiment. So, John, that was the sentiment of everybody. Because I listened to after the show. They're just, everybody was high on this guy, and and I don't know if you saw it. Then they brought him on and they talked to him, and I'll tell you, after that, I'm even more high on him. I just like his attitude. I like everything about him. I think I've met him once. Just a quiet guy, but one of those guys. He's going to do his business when the Octagon door closes. I love those type of guys.
Yeah, will be really interesting to see his style against now some of those top guys. But
that's what I want to say.
With flying colors, and we had sort of bemoaned the fact that despite the 7-fight winning streak, he was not in the top 10. And now the new rankings are out. One benefit of us doing the show on Tuesday, we get the new rankings. He's number 7 in the world. And Reinier de Ridder is another guy, right, who we've talked a lot about. He's going to be with me doing an appearance actually at Wrigley Field, DraftKings Sportsbook Friday night, 6:30 after the ceremonial weigh-in this Friday. But my gosh, man, there's like so much talent. That's why when Anthony Hernandez said before the fight that maybe like there should be a BMF belt for the middleweight division, I don't know that any division sort of needs a second belt as much as that one does right now. There's just so much talent and so many guys who are worthy of opportunities. I think you're right, though. Strickland or Costa, a lot of big things ahead for Anthony Fluffy Hernandez.
But I tell you, John, that division all of a sudden is...
Oh, Ken Flo's back.
Yeah, Kenny. But anyway, that division really now you could mix and match a lot of great fights, and even the fight in France is going to be great. The other, I'm super excited for Duplessis and Hamzat, and then then you got so many other good fights you can mix and match. There's definitely 8 or 9 or 10 guys that. Either way you go, you're going to have some good fights. So I think it's a middleweight division. It went from kind of nothing to it looks really good now.
Better than ever.
You know what I mean?
I mean, in the next 5 weeks, too, you're going to also have that Bohalyo-Imavov result that Ray's sort of alluding to. I think in terms of cleanliness, right, these middleweight contenders, I think most of them, other than, of course, Khamzat Chimaev, are rooting for Kenny to do something dominant to successfully defend his belt here for a third time, because that at least would open up the door for them. If you get a war between Chimaev and Duplessis and maybe an immediate rematch, because right now, I know I'm going along here, but Reinier Bohalyo's is the Imavov. As far as I'm concerned, he has won a title eliminator, right? Brett Allen's won a fight. Jared Cannonier's fighting Michael Venom Page this fucking weekend. I mean, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely, John. You're cutting in and out just a little bit, but I think that this middleweight division is the best it's ever been. You see the amount of talent, the amount of quality that could fight for a title in the very near future. Absolutely stacked, and really curious how this fight is going to go with this main event, because both guys are absolute beasts.
Yeah, and if you look at even the top 10, and even though Bo Nickel had a bad outing, you still, he could still get better. He can make some adjustments. I mean, throw him in there too. I mean, I think they maybe moved him a little too quick in hindsight, which, probably didn't work out good for him. But, give him another year, let him develop a little bit. And I think you got another really good guy you could toss in there, So I'm excited for that division. I think Hernandez woke everybody up. I tell you,
that's for sure.
Sometimes you get like a fight at the top, and it's almost like sometimes with the flyweights, they got to go back to fighting the same guy 5 times in a row. But this is different, man. You got some. Derrida brings a new challenge to everybody. Hernandez, and these are names that aren't like up with the Adesanyas and the Stricklands and the Costas, and you need that new blood coming in from behind to keep everybody on their toes.
Ray, Dricus du Plessis is now the plus 195 betting underdog in defense of his title. Seems like every time I go into that DraftKings Sportsbook application, the price gets sweeter if you're betting du Plessis, and it gets a little more sour if you're betting Chimaev. We need to pick from Ray Longo on a Tuesday who will leave Chicago as the undisputed UFC champ.
I don't know. I am leaning towards du Plessis. If Khamzat can't really dominate huge in that or finish it in the first 2 rounds, I just think that other guy could just drag you into deep waters, and and if your cardio is not good, it's just going to be a nightmare with that guy. And I think Khamzat showed signs of maybe slowing down a little bit. If you go back to like the Gilbert Burns, even Usman in a 5-round fight might have beat him. You know what I mean? Like he was coming on strong, Usman, in that fight. So this is interesting. It's also interesting. Somebody told me he's working with a Dillashaw strength coach.
Yeah, Coach Cal. Yeah.
What a fucking gem he is. Yeah. Like he knew nothing about Dillashaw. What a fucking bunch of cheating motherfuckers, man. Good luck to you. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
you didn't know that. Man. You couldn't figure that out. That's all right. All right, so that's the first bad sign. I'd have him triple tested before he gets in there. I mean, the guy's already huge. They're gonna jack him up on some shit. Now it's gonna be a problem.
Monster. Huh. So, I mean, you sort of threw me for a little bit of a loop there. I can't lean too far into that, but Kenny and I were doing some content. Kenny and I were doing some content for UFC Fight Pass, right? And it seems like everything comes back to Merab these days for me, right? But cardiovascular strength, right, plus sheer will is a very powerful thing, right? So we know Dricus has a great
1 million
cardio base.
Yeah.
Right. So, but when you have the cardio and the will, right? Because you can always get a second win potentially. If you see fighters get a second win even when they gas out, right? But I think Khamzat Chimaev not only has that amazing cardio base, right, that he has sort of fortified, I think, during this training camp, but the will, right? Because his will is going to be tested by du Plessis. And in terms of the Hunger Games and just sheer will, that du Plessis got buckets of it. So that's, I think, where Chimaev's going to be tested, and I think he's going to pass that test.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, but no, because that's the
beauty. But John, that's the beauty of this fight. There's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I really want to see the fight, but I'm curious about a lot of things. And look, if Khamzat goes out there and he just crushes him in the first round like he did Whitaker, that's going to be very impressive. You know what I mean?
See,
but
and I think he could do that regardless, just because of his offensive firepower. But I think what's interesting and what John's probably alluding to is the fact that he could have trained anywhere. He could have stayed in Abu Dhabi and just trained there. But instead, maybe hearing what people are saying or maybe looking into himself, he's saying, well, I need to get my conditioning in order. If I have to face this guy who's an absolute killer in round 4 and 5, and he's going to try to take my head off, if I'm not able to finish him, then I have to be ready. Let me go out to California and train with Coach Cal and suffer by everybody's, what everyone's saying who have trained with Coach Cal is that this guy, he kills them in training. Like, it is the worst type of suffering that you could experience. I don't think a guy who is, going to rely on that offensive firepower, on his explosiveness, is going to go there unless he's absolutely hungry. So I think that's a great sign. And you know, Khamzat's trying to shore up that potential weakness. And when we went back and saw that Kamaru Usman fight, you know, everyone's saying that maybe he was slowing down. Maybe Kamaru would have come back to win that fight. After seeing it, he won every single round, Ray. Like, he won every single round and really didn't look too tired. So I don't really agree with that narrative. And it's a common narrative. A lot of people are saying it. Go back and watch that fight, because I was really surprised.
What weight was that fight at?
185.
But you know, then Khamzat and the other guy's a 170 pounder.
Yeah, but Kamaru's not a small
170.
I mean? He also
but it's the Nigerian fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
All right. And
like, I know, Kenny and I sort of.
You know, you're taking
Kenny and I,
big little guy against a good big guy, a good little guy against a good big guy. You know, he's supposed to do that. I'm just saying, I think he could have did that one a little, you know, it would have been more impressive if he would have gotten him out of there.
Well, and Khamzat Chimaev that night was supposed to face Paulo Costa, and Usman stepped in on short notice. But Usman's a calculated guy. If he was grossly out of shape, he wouldn't have taken the fight. I guess the point Kenny and I are making, and not to put words in his mouth, right? But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Khamzat could realize success in rounds 4 and 5, because he's a monster who wants it very badly and works as hard as anyone. If anything, his work ethic has been an issue at times, that he has worked too hard. And there are false narratives surrounding that Usman Chimaev fight, in Kenny and my opinion, right? It was a one-sided fight. I think Usman's performance was elevated or glorified a little bit because of the short notice. We just went back and watched that, and Chimaev won all 3 fucking rounds. So anyway, I think that's sort of.
And again, if what you're saying, like with the 4 and 5, then he wins the fight. That's my only question, is if he gasses out against a big, strong guy like this who's awkward, and he's coming at you, you're getting into weird scrambles you're not used to. It could gas you. But look, everything is. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. The fact of going out, like Kenny says, it's one thing to go out. You know, like, again, he's making the decision to go out. For me. You know, the Dillashaw thing just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. Like, maybe that's the reason he went out there. You know what I mean? I really give a fuck.
But you know what? That could have been just Dillashaw.
And guys, I know what the fuck is going on out there. You know what I mean? Like, if you think everybody's on the up and up, you guys are really, really misinformed. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it a little differently than what you're looking at. Out of all the strength guys, which there's a lot of them, go to the guy that only has the track record of what we're talking about. I don't know. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's the art of war, I guess.
Right.
That's a pretty interesting choice to me.
Right. Go to the guy with go to the guy with intimate familiarity with EPO. Right.
I would think they're taking blood test. I think somebody told me they were taking blood tests at one point. How do you get past the blood test? I don't know what it is. What it is. I don't know. I'm not dying on that hill, but if
it's
his
an interesting angle.
If his cardio is good in the 4th and 5th, I'm going to say he's going to win that fight.
Yeah. All right, buddy. I know you got to get out of here bottom of the hour. So thank you for fitting us in on a Tuesday. And unless you got a parting shot, we'll let you evacuate.
I apologize for my first comments.
You're the man, Ray.
No, you don't have to apologize. I apologize for
there
the
was
delay.
stuff that was coming in and out. I would think we're leading off with a nails. I heard something. But anyway, great performance by Hernandez. Congrats to the UFC for another unbelievable deal. I mean, you're watching a company just go up, up, up. I'm telling you one thing. I enjoy watching that. If you're a business guy and you want to know about branding and how to build a company, I study what Dana did, man. I know Fertitas, whatever, but what a bang up job they've done with this thing. And I mean, what's the number? 7.78 billion. And I thought 4 billion the last time was crazy. And this is nuts. This is nuts. How are we getting some of that money, guys? Are we getting any of that money? John, you should be in good shape.
I do not believe so, Ray. My contract's up next year. We'll see what happens.
Let's go. Big stuff. Big stuff.
Thanks.
All right,
man.
listen, guys, take it easy. I'm running out of here.
See you, Ray.
I'll see you next
Love you,
week.
man.
Take
The
care.
star of the program, the star of the 3-time World MMA Award nominated Anakin Florian podcast, Ray Longo. So I'm having delay issues. I'm not catching his answers nor yours in totality. It might be better now back in the 2 box, but it's hard to have a conversation about Sam Calavita and blood doping when you're catching every other word, right? It's not that I wasn't responsive to certain things that he was saying, right? But let's just be clear. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev has always drawn rave reviews for his work ethic. Yes, there have been times where the weight has been an issue and we've been on Fight Island and he's sort of like not doing maybe what his coaches have wanted to, but you know, he's married to the game and he has a great opportunity to prove a lot of different things against Dricus du Plessis this weekend. To that end, Ken Flo, UFC 319 beckons in Chicago, Illinois. The last time UFC was in Chicago was 2019. So let us begin our celebration right here, right now with Cuervo. It is time for the first shot of the fight weekend. I spent about a quarter of an hour looking for my Cuervo shot glass here in the hotel. I couldn't find it. You have yours, but we still got the Cuervo, and we are ready to take our first shot of the UFC 319 fight weekend. Not now, but right now.
Cheers, my friend.
Woo! What did they say? A little hair on the dog? Is that what they say? A little hair on the dog? All right. So I know you've been holding back some of your comments on du Plessis and Chimaev, and you can certainly watch back some of those fights that we were referencing involving Khamzat Chimaev versus versus Kamaru Usman, and some du Plessis fights against Sean Strickland most recently. We watched all of those back with like our own sort of commentary on the side for UFC Fight Pass, and you can ingest those right now. But Kenny, every time I ask someone about du Plessis Chimaev or we talk about it, I'm not saying it's like tired or lazy analysis, but it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if du Plessis could just get through the early storm, sometimes it just comes down to that, but it seems to be a little bit too simplistic and there might be a little bit more involved. I know you'll give a prediction later in the program, but when you look at this fight, you look at the matchup, skill for skill, you look at Khamzat, the money pouring in, what are you expecting to see this weekend?
Yeah, John, I agree. I think that the narrative should change around this fight because a couple things. After watching those fights and, you know, doing the research this week, a couple things were apparent. First of all, the narrative around that Kamaru Usman fight is inaccurate. And I think that looked like Chimaev went in there very well prepared, and he did it largely in a dominant fashion against one of the best wrestlers in UFC history. This guy is, you know, a takedown expert, okay? He knows how to control people. We had never seen anybody do that on a grappling level with their takedown game, especially to someone like Kamaru Usman. And yes, Usman, you know, he fights at 170, but to say that he wouldn't be competitive or elite in the 185-pound division is just inaccurate as well. This guy is an awesome fighter, and Chimaev went in there and looked great, and at the end of the fight, didn't seem like he was, you know, totally exhausted. And the other thing is you also want to manage your energy for 3 rounds. You're fighting for 3 rounds. You manage your energy for 3 rounds. You manage your fight, you know, for 5 rounds. You manage your energy for 5 rounds. So anyways, I think him training with Coach Cal, getting his conditioning to the best possible, highest possible, you know, level is going to be critical here in this fight against du Plessis. And the other thing that I took away from this research this week was du Plessis and his team and their ability to find a game plan and execute it. That's going to be critical here as well.
Well, I'll get a prediction on the UFC 319 main event later in the program. I understand why Khamzat Chimaev has the distinction as the favorite. Oftentimes, you know, you're betting the number and not the fighter, and you hear this word value trotted around in sports betting circles. Perhaps it's a little bit overused, right? But, you know, you can simultaneously be bullish on Chimaev and also plus 185 next to Duplessis, who's 9-0 in the UFC, and just be like, I'm going to take that plus 185, even though with a gun to my head, maybe I would take Khamzat Chimaev. I just can't wait to see them in the same physical space, right? Like the first stare down at the presser on Thursday. I mean, this is big things, and every avid fan is acutely aware of that. So we're excited. We're excited. All right. A lot of different things as we sort of empty out what was a busy week in the fight game. We got to unpack the news desk. It is time for headlines. Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. So we talked about Anthony Hernandez. I think it's very exciting that he's on his way to Chicago. So I thought it was interesting at the post-fight press conference, you know, just how deferential he is to his team and how much confidence he puts in his team. You know, he just shows up, and I think he said, you know, I'm usually just high all the time, you know, but he shows up, he puts in the work. It's eight straight wins. And, you know, it's just a really interesting time. I don't know if you have anything more on that, right? But Kyle Bohalio is going to weigh in as the backup like 3 or 4 weeks before he fights Nassourdini Mavov. And Kyle Bohalio is one of the most impressive men on this roster, top to bottom, bro. He's the best English speaker among Brazilians, right? He can do television right now in multiple different languages, right? He's so married to the game that he's going to fly to Chicago, weigh in as the backup, and then go fight in Paris, France, in Nassourdini Mavov's backyard. But Anthony Fluffy Hernandez maximizes this showcase. And if you're Kyle Bohalio already in Chicago, you're like, oh, you know, like didn't necessarily need to deal with that, right? There's all these guys on the cusp, and Hernandez made a huge case. And yeah, interesting times at 185 to be sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hernandez is a savage, an absolute savage. And to see him go out there and bully Dolidze in the way that he did, I think spoke volumes for me because I thought physicality was going to be a factor. And you can't underestimate that level of toughness. And, you know, I don't think Dolidze fought the smartest fight. You know, I think he engaged Hernandez at his best game, which I think was a little bit foolish because Hernandez, we know how proven he is in that realm. And then for Kyle Bohalio, yeah, I think he's the ultimate professional, man. This is the guy that put the fighting nerds on the map because he is a student of the game. He really is a fight nerd. You could see the way that he commits to this game. I think he's a guy that could definitely fight for the belt in the very near future, maybe even win it. I do think he's that good. He's good everywhere, dangerous everywhere.
I mean, I'm watching all these Americans a couple of weeks ago on the post-fight show, and this Brazilian in his second language is stealing the show. They're like keeping him around for extra analysis and another segment. And he's just so giving, is Bohalio, of his time and his energy to the fans. I've seen it in Australia. I've seen it all over the world. So, and Dricus du Plessis, there may not be a better ambassador for the game than the middleweight champion right now, you know? So, awesome things at 185 pounds. Congrats to Fluffy Anthony Hernandez, one of 4 bonus winners alongside Christian Leroy Duncan, Elijah Smith, and Jocelyn Edwards. Time permitting, we may circle back to that card, but some other things that I would like to get to. So Charles Oliveira is fighting Rafael Fiziev October 11th in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Now, Charles has suggested that maybe Dan Hooker had called him out for November and didn't accept the fight in October, which did not sit well with Charles. It is going to be Rafael Fiziev coming off a huge win over Ignacio Bahamondes, but a lot of people are wondering about the timeline for Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. Ken Flo was just rather viciously removed from consciousness by Ilia Topuria late June, and now headlining against Rafael Fiziev in October. I mean, there's only one man for the job in a lot of respects, right? Not unlike Brandon Moreno in Mexico, right? You know, with respect to Alex Pereira fight Magomed Ankalaev. There's one man for the job in Brazil. It's Charles Oliveira, but I think a lot of people would suggest it's not ideal to be making this quick a turn. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, it's a tough thing because Oliveira does get paid a lot of money to go out there and do his job. And I imagine it must be hard to turn down that money, but also the fact that this is a fighter. He wants to come back and get back on track and get a big win. Doing it against a guy like Fiziev, though, I think there's a lot to lose here. I think Fiziev has way more to gain. And I think Fiziev's probably licking his chops here, knowing that Oliveira did just get knocked out. And Oliveira has been knocked down a bunch of times over the course of his career. So very interesting one. You can't count out Oliveira with all of his skill. Either way, that's going to be a nasty fight.
You bring up a lot of important points. Now, prize fighting, right? At this stage of Charles Oliveira's career, you got to think that he's making close to $1 million to show. He is a global MMA superstar, if not north of that, right? As a former undisputed lightweight champion who successfully defended the title. But you think about the career for him of late, right? Got injured and was unable to fight Islam Makhachev in the rematch, right? Like, people forget that he had a rematch on the books with Islam Makhachev. Alexander Volkanovski stepped in, right? Then he fights Arman Tsarukyan at UFC 300, got a shit ton done in that fight, but lost a split decision. Then he fights Michael Chandler again, an epic 5 rounds, lot of energy expenditure, training for that fight, in fight. It was absolutely grueling, even though Charles won that fight going. And then he comes and he fights Ilia Topuria for the title, and then he gets knocked out. Now, you start to stack dollar bills, but there's just been a lot asked of Charles Oliveira. And it brings me to a quote from Khabib Nurmagomedov about Islam Makhachev. Now, Khabib came out and said he only sees 1 to 2 years left for Islam in MMA. And he essentially, after 35 years of age, you're never going to be the same. People can talk whatever they want. When you're past your prime, you're going to fight only for money. And I know this is something that you grappled with, right? That, you know, health was a part of it for you, but you just were going to find other ways to make money as opposed to just sort of be a prize fighter at that stage of your career. So what are your thoughts on Islam and just the general sort of theme of fighters sort of hanging on when the paydays get the biggest, when maybe their game starts to be the smallest?
I think it's important to look at not just how an MMA fighter views their career, but how the elite view their career. Khabib Nurmagomedov is, by any account, elite, one of the best to ever do it. And when you see his approach, you see how thoughtful he is and what he does. Every move is calculated, similarly to Ilia Topuria. I see him in that same vein. And I think that there's some truth to that. This game is extremely difficult, okay? And you're throwing punches and you're getting hit repeatedly, and your body will eventually feel the effects of that, especially when you have that kind of hard-nosed style that Islam Makhachev uses. He employs a heavy wrestling style. Now, that can go very, very well, but as you get older, it's tougher to sustain that level of training, that level of activity as far as a professional fighter. So I think what Khabib is saying is right. Now, I don't think that's the approach for every single fighter, but if you want to stay elite and if you want to preserve your legacy, and to those elite champions, John Jones, guys like Ilia Topuria, Khabib Nurmagomedov, these guys want to get in and get out, make their money, preserve their immaculate record, and get out of the game. So I think he probably wants that same thing for his buddy Islam Makhachev.
Yeah. And you wonder what Islam Makhachev's net worth is right now. I mean, Khabib has just made an embarrassment of riches, but you wonder where Islam is at. And the front part of Khabib's quote, Kenny, is when you become 35, you need to stop doing this because leave the sport for young guys. When you become 35 and you don't finish, somebody else is going to finish you. Why? It's better to finish. And then he sort of goes into the rest of his quote, right? But it just sort of dovetails with what you're saying about the standard, being elite, and what it takes to sort of stay at the top. Not just staying at the top, but with style points as well. I want to sort of segue to something else related to the lightweight division to get your thoughts on it. So who is Ilia Topuria going to fight next? I don't know if you have a prediction as to who you think he is going to defend the lightweight title against, but I want to read a quote from Kamaru Usman as to this situation. Now, keep in mind, Kamaru Usman's teammate and dear friend is Justin Gaethje, so take this for what it is worth. But here's the quote from Kamaru Usman on a potential title shot for Paddy Pimblett. If you're not going to do Arman Tsarukyan or you're not going to do Justin Gaethje, you've got Dan Hooker there, Mateusz Gamrot, Beneil Dariush in front of Paddy Pimblett. So to skip all of these guys just to give him a title shot, that kind of spits in the face of the merit of the best fights, the next best guy. So I don't agree with that statement in totality. I think there's part of it that maybe I can understand, but when you start suggesting in a meritocracy that Paddy Pimblett falls so far below guys like Mateusz Gamrot and Dan Hooker and Beneil Dariush who have lost fights, you lose me. I mean, say what you want about, the golden hair and the ability on a microphone and everything else, but Paddy Pimblett is an exciting fighter. He's undefeated in the UFC. Notice I'm not mentioning the friction with Ilia Topuria, but it's not as though, in my opinion, Kenny, Paddy Pimblett is totally out of this conversation based upon merit, even if he doesn't have the ranking that maybe a Gamrot does. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but, you know, obviously we have to address the fact that fights get put together for a variety of reasons. They get put together because one guy is the number one contender in that division. Pretty straightforward. We all understand that. The other reason is, you know, maybe they're on some crazy win streak where they've defeated a lot of big names in a row, and maybe there are 3 or 4, but that's the fight that, people think this guy deserves, and the fact that maybe a couple of those guys ahead of him have already fought the champ. Okay. Then there's the fact that what's going to bring in the most money for that fight. And without question, out of all those guys in the division, Paddy Pimblett is going to bring in more money from a business perspective for Ilia Topuria, for the UFC, and of course for Paddy Pimblett himself. So it's hard, and it's hard to argue against that, right? This is what every fighter is trying to put themselves in a position for, whether it's through merit, whether it's through talking trash, whether it's just being popular with the fans, whatever it is. So there's a variety of reasons. Now, I think it's probably going to be Arman Tsarukyan. I think maybe they'll make a fight between Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, and the winner will then maybe get the next shot. I think that's kind of the way to go. But wouldn't be surprised if Paddy Pimblett skips the line.
So my informed speculation is that unless you're paying Justin Gaethje some absurd amount of money, he's not fighting Paddy Pimblett. I mean, you're going to have to pay him $4 or $5 million to show, which just isn't going to happen, you know? So, but I do think that Arman Tsarukyan is gaining steam. I think Tsarukyan is gaining steam, even contemporaries suggest that nobody cares about him, because there are two different things at play. How much money does a division make the UFC with a given fighter as champion? For example, at welterweight, they make more money when Jack Della Maddalena is the champion than Bilal Muhammad is the champion. Not to suggest that JDM is a massively bigger draw, but he comes from a nation that absolutely obsesses over the UFC. So over there, I mean, it goes without saying that he's a bigger draw than Bilal. And even if Della Maddalena is not some master promoter nor orator, that division is going to make more money with Jack Della Maddalena as the champion than Bilal Muhammad. The lightweight division is going to make more money if Conor McGregor's the champion than almost anyone else, right? But it'll make more money if Ilia Topuria is the champion as opposed to Arman Tsarukyan. I think so. I don't necessarily know, right? Like, you're saying that the biggest fight at the window, so to speak, is Topuria versus Pimblett. How big is that fight compared to Topuria versus Gaethje in any given nation? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Gaethje's right there behind him. Yeah.
So we'll see the direction in which they go. But, you know, when I see like Justin Gaethje back in the gym and not on the golf course, you know, I start to wonder. It's like, oh, are they doing Topuria Gaethje in December or whatever? You know, because I do believe Justin has drawn a line in the sand. And, you know, there's just so much to sort of analyze with Dana White's reaction to what happened at UFC 317 with Paddy Pimblett being brought into the Octagon and all of that. And Dana's sort of lukewarmness with how that was handled.
Well, so. I'm glad you gave us the backdrop on that, you know, or background and context on that, because I think that's pivotal as well. Because the other factor that I didn't talk about is the fact that what's going to be the most exciting fight, right? Because Tsarukyan Topuria, just from people analyzing it, maybe from the UFC's perspective, Tsarukyan loves to wrestle. Maybe they don't want to see that fight. Gaethje, we all know what he's going to do, and we all know what Topuria is going to invite. And that might be the most exciting fight out of all the possibilities out there, John. So very interesting stuff.
And who knows what Arman Tsarukyan could do once he would have the belt, right? Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could become a global superstar, right? I mean, he seems annoyed when he's around me all the time. You know what I mean? Maybe he'll smile at some point when he shares the airspace with me in the future, but you just don't know potentially what a guy could be. I mean, look at Merab Dvalishvili. Now, just because Sean O'Malley would sell more pay-per-views, and by the way, this dovetails with the Paramount Plus deal because that's no longer going to be a thing next year. But do you think the UFC forecast that Merab would become this big a global star? Probably not. Otherwise, maybe he would have gotten the championship opportunity soon.
No, exactly. And I think it's very similar to Khabib Nurmagomedov. He experienced the same kind of criticism, throughout his career. He's boring. He's going to do that. But look what happened to him, and again, the fact that there's parity out there in a lot of these divisions of the UFC, that's what makes them such a great company and such a global powerhouse. Is there's so many great fights to make. And the guys that you beat, these big names, whether it's O'Malley or whoever it is, that's going to propel you to be a superstar. And Merab has done that one after another. And he's a star just based on his merit and, of course, his charisma outside of the cage as well.
Very interesting things at 155 pounds. And we'll see the direction the promotion goes. But these are good problems to have in a lot of respects and fun conversations to have here on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right, you know what's happening this weekend. The UFC blowing back to the Windy City for the first time in 6 years. UFC 319, du Plessis versus Chimaev. You can check out the entire fight card and get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. And if you are new to DraftKings, this is for you. New customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. A lot of ways to attack the board, a lot of different ways to make your fight night more exciting. So don't miss out on all the UFC 319 action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. So I did a fireside chat for the DraftKings company a couple weeks ago. I think I mentioned that here on the podcast. Yeah. Shout out to everybody watching on the DraftKings network. And I told them that I now live in a state in which the DraftKings Sportsbook is live, Connecticut, right? So I told them I've lost $1,250 since I moved. I've made 5 $250 deposits, and I've lost all of it. So, yeah, maybe I should go back.
Let's
to a
go,
state
John.
in which
Come on.
It's actually illegal. All right. Pronunciation of the week is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that won't slow you down. So it's amazing how much people struggle with these Brazilian names. People in the know who hear them, who know the rule, but then they'll drop like a Piera on you. Right. So this lightweight represents Fortis MMA in Dallas, Texas. He is a man. He is 40. He lost to Grant Dawson actually on his 40th birthday earlier this year. 10-6 in the UFC out of Carreiro da Várzea, Amazonas, Brazil. Ken Flo, of whom am I speaking?
Diego Ferreira. Or you could say Diego. Diego.
Hi. Yeah. All right, Cody, you can trigger the file.
Ferreira. Full name. Carlos Diego Ferreira. Carlos Diego Ferreira. Awesome. Cool.
So nice job by Ken Flo. You gave us both versions of Diego. And yeah, this is your, semi-annual public service announcement about the Brazilian R's. When there are 2 of them, it becomes an H. 2 R's right there in the middle of the word becomes an H. But in the case of Alex Pereira, they're both R's, right? So yes. Pereira, if you want to say it like that, or if you want to get fancy, you can drop a Pereira as we do. But eventually it'll stick for you folks. It is Diego Ferreira. All right, second file is the guy fighting Dricus du Plessis, Kenny. I guess nothing too challenging about saying his name, but we'd like to hear you say Dricus du Plessis' opponent's name, if you would.
Yeah, so the K and the H is like a ha. So Khamzat Chimaev.
It's Ken Flo's bar mitzvah later today. Ken Flo, let's hear the file, Cody.
Okay, rolling. Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Borj Chimaev.
One more.
Khamzat Borj Chimaev.
Certainly sounds like a man who could kill you with his bare hands.
Man, it's crazy.
So-
He's so soft-spoken, and then he fights the complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean,
Berserker.
I get intimidated when he walks into the fighter meeting. That's for sure. His attendance record is not perfect when it comes to this fighter meetings, incidentally. So when they did that UFC Fight Island documentary, I can't even believe that this ended up being in the documentary, but Paul Felder is about to go call some fights, right? This is the global pandemic, everybody masked up, and he was across the hall from me. And this was like a Wednesday midweek fight night. I wasn't calling the fight. So he knocks on my door, and this is all documented on ESPN Plus in this documentary. He knocks on my door as he's on his way to the arena. I answered the door in a bathrobe. I'm getting ready to just watch the fights. And he is asking me the pronunciation of Khamzat Chimaev. And he says, not Khamzat, but Khazmat, like hazmat suit, like Hazmat. And I'm like, yep, Khazmat Chimaev. You know, I give him the wrong information as he heads out. So, all right, there you have it. All right, UFC 319 coming up in Chicago, Illinois. I mentioned this Friday, 6:30 p.m. I'll be at DraftKings Sportsbook alongside Rainier DeRitter, Beneil Dariush, and Gilbert Durino Burns right at Wrigley Field there. You should be able to get a picture with all of these guys, a meet and greet following a Q&A. Certainly, you can hit up at Anik Florian Pod if you have questions that you want me to ask RDR or any of those guys. Also, don't forget UFC Fight Pass right now to see the Anik and Florian rewind for UFC 319, focusing on both Khamzat and Dricus du Plessis. And also, don't forget, WorldMMAAwards.com. Voting is now open for the 17th Annual World MMA Awards, and we're very thankful that the Anik and Florian podcast has now been thrice nominated. So if you want to get out the vote, you know what? I mean, I will do the stupidest human trick. If we win, if our show were to win that award, I mean, I'll take 8 shots of Cuervo in 8 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
So get out the vote. You want to see me do that or no?
Let's do it.
All right. Today's main event challenge for UFC 319 is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. And if we don't have Petrie, then that's okay. I'm just so worried about this 3-shot today. I can't even tell you. Big Gun Brian Petrie going tank top today.
Yes, up, man. What's up?
Is that like a Bulls tank top? What is it?
So I wore it. Listen, John, I'm a girl. Okay. So I've been planning my outfit for Chicago. I'll be in Chicago this weekend for the fights. And I really wanted to rock a Blackhawks jersey, but it's August. I would have melted. So I'm like, let me go Bulls. Mitchell and Ness, a great company, throwback jerseys. I got a Scottie Pippen one, right? I'm all excited. I got Jordan shoes. I got jeans, right? I'm like, dude, I'm going to look fucking good. I wash it and everything falls off.
Oh, no.
Everything falls off. And I follow the letter of the law of how to wash. It's a $150 jersey. So I email him like, yo, I washed this one time. That's what I do with new clothes. Everything fell off. Like, what the can I get like a new one? They're like, hey, we can't send you a new one. We don't know if you washed it properly. So I'm eating the $150. I'm not going to be wearing it in Chicago. So I figured the best I can do is wear it on the show and give them a little bit of a blast. That's fucked up, man.
Dude, what was it, a knockoff?
That is a
or
great
something?
story.
What the hell's going on?
No,
dude?
I mean, yeah, Mitchell and Ness. I got a Dennis Rodman jersey from them. I got some shorts for them. They're great. I mean, this is like it feels great. Like I said, $150. Scottie Pips, you know, and one wash, dude. Crazy.
That's it. I'm throwing away my Mitchell and Ness Bruins hat. That's it.
Do it. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a jersey guy. I'm a memorabilia guy. I'm a card guy. You're kind of blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, dude.
When I was in Las Vegas last week for some business, they have this company I think called Lucky Vending, where you can, for $150, you in a vending machine can get an autographed jersey, right?
Oh, that's
and
cool.
What's funny is I think the company's called Authentic Fans, and it's our exact Anik and Florian monogram is their logo. It's actually crazy. I meant to have the visual for the show today, right? But so you put $150 into the vending machine, and I came across this on Instagram, and so I fucking get it in the Rio to find this Lucky Vending machine because I just love the suspense, the mystery box. I'm getting an autographed jersey, right? So out pops a Houston Rockets Clyde Drexler autographed jersey, which is a good get, right? So I'm looking at the back of it, number 22, Clyde Drexler, 6 signature. I turn it around, and instead of saying Houston or Rockets, whatever, it says the Glide. his fucking nickname.
Nickname,
Now,
yeah.
say what you want, but it's not an authentic jersey. It's just a jersey
right.
by this company, and it says the fucking Glide. And if I washed it, it would probably wash right off the fucking jersey,
right
just
off.
like yours. So
Dude.
I will show that to you guys next week. But
I love it.
But dude, shout out though to Lucky Vending because it's an amazing concept, and it made
That's
me want
cool.
to go back and just put another $300 in the machine and see if I can get another couple jerseys. All right, lot of picks to get to today. I am having some Wi-Fi issues at the hotel, so hopefully you catch what I'm putting down.
Yes.
We will start with the prelim fight in the lightweight division. Brian, Edson Barboza -162. Drakkar Klose is +136. So Barboza went 4-4 at featherweight. Now back to 55, where he has won 14 times in the UFC. He is 39 years of age, fighting the MMA Labs. Drakkar Klose, BP, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still amazed that Edson Barboza makes weight. I mean, the guy has no fat to lose. He's in incredible shape. I like him at 45 here. Typically, I don't like older guys cutting weight, but I like him here, and I think he's explosive. I think Drakkar Klose, when I watched tape on him, I thought he was a better wrestler. I thought he wrestled more. He doesn't really wrestle as much as I thought he did. He's more of a pressure guy, get in your face, rough you up, maybe take you down, but he doesn't go for a lot of takedowns, and I think that's going to be a problem here. He's coming off a big knockout loss over Yoel Alvarez, and I think, Edson Barboza's primed to do that to him as well. Those flying knees, those kicks, all those explosiveness is still there, even though Edson Barboza is 39 years old. We're getting a low price on him at -162. I thought maybe he'd be a little bit higher, but I like that. It's early in the week. Maybe the line will move. I like Barboza here. Maybe Barboza by finish as well. Dust off the old finish machine for Edson Barboza. I like him here.
Yes. Sorry, John, you cut out there. Yeah, I like Barboza as well, man. I think he's going to be the more technical striker. I think that, he tends to struggle against guys who have a high pressure game, who look for, a heavy takedown type approach. And I don't really see that here. Brian, I'm with you. I don't think Drakkar Klose is that guy. I also think that he doesn't have elite footwork where he can really pressure and put Barboza on his back foot repeatedly for 15 minutes. I think this is a good fight for Barboza. So give me Edson.
Ha! Hey, Ken Flo, did you ever wear the cologne Drakkar Noir?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, so
proudly.
Brian Petrie is younger than us, so I don't know if he knows.
He doesn't
about
understand the power.
I used to call it Drakkar Noir. I used to call it Drakkar Noir, but it's actually Drakkar Noir. So, Kenny, we have a special treat for you today because Drakkar Klose needs a nickname. And I don't know if he's black or half black, but Noir translates to black, right? Nursultan Rujaboyev is fighting this weekend. His nickname's fucking black. So if I'm Drakkar Klose, I'm Drakkar Noir Klose. Needs a nickname 100%. Just like Super Mario Bautista. So, Kenny, here is our special treat for you today.
Yes.
Within the black, there is a power. Drakkar Noir. The men's fragrance by Guy Laroche, Paris. Feel the power.
The Drakkar Noir Performer Sport Collection. Your gift with any $20 purchase. Available at Dillard's.
Yes. Bro, Brian, you don't even understand that if you put Drakkar Noir on your body, it was a superpower. Okay? You were getting chicks.
Jealous, dude. Jealous.
Right. You were French kissing a woman minimally that night if you put on Drakkar Noir.
Incredible.
Or your money back.
I had Curve. Curve was
But
mine
Drakkar
when I
Klose
was
is
young.
9-3 in the UFC and doesn't necessarily get the body of work credit that he deserves. Maybe he just needs a nickname. Certainly a win over Edson Barboza this weekend would be useful for Drakkar Noir Klose. All right. Also lightweight BP, Chase Cooper -325, Alexander Hernandez +260. Who do you love?
I love Chase Hooper. Listen, I want to apologize to Mr. Hooper. After the Steve Garcia loss, I was very negative. I thought he should maybe spend some time outside the UFC just because for his health. He got knocked around pretty bad. But you know what he did? He beefed up a little bit, went up to 55, and all he's done is win, right? And he's looked good doing it. He's improved everywhere, wrestling, grappling, striking. His striking is very awkward. It's long. He uses kicks really well to keep you at distance. He throws good punches. He drops Slava claws. He had his grappling's obviously elite because he went pretty much 3-round grappling fence against a guy named Jim Miller. Ever heard of him? And he did really well, and he won the fight. I think this kid's going to be on the, I wouldn't say the word special yet, but he's on the verge of possibly being special. He's almost like a specialist where his ground game, his scrambling is so good, it's really hard to, kind of judge for that. And you got Alex Hernandez, who likes to mix up wrestling a little bit, but he's more of a pot shot. He likes to land one big shot. He's not a combination guy. He has decent footwork. Cardio seems to be kind of improving as well. He's been bouncing up and down in weight classes. He wants 45, wants 55. Pick a weight class, my guy. Doesn't matter, though. I think Chase Hooper is going to go in there. He's going to get a finish here. I think Chase Hooper can do whatever he wants. Club and sub is probably what I see happening. Clipping him, taking a neck. I like Chase Hooper big in this spot.
Kenflo, Chase Hooper is absolutely fucking scorching right now. 5 straight wins for the still just 5-year-old out of Enum Claw. I had a pretty good test.
Yeah, Brian, I'm with you, man. I think that Chase Hooper is going to take this. I think that Hernandez is probably going to be the better striker, I guess, overall. But defensively, he's not great himself. And I think Chase Hooper is doing a good job with those kicks that you mentioned of keeping him on the outside. And then he can kind of get to a place where he can get to that clinch and take this fight to the ground, whether it's jumping guard or hitting a takedown and just pressuring Hernandez until he breaks. I think this is Chase Hooper's fight to lose. And I couldn't agree more. After that loss against Steve Garcia, I did the same thing, man. I wrote him off. And I think we didn't understand 2 things. I don't think I understood how good Steve Garcia was at the time, and also how good Chase Hooper was and how dedicated he was to honing in on his craft. So, yeah, I like Chase here as well.
I thought it was interesting when Alexander Hernandez talked about the featherweight division 0-3. He's like, yeah, that experiment is over.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot.
All right.
At
That's strawweight.
Feel you, buddy.
Lupi Godinez. Yeah. Lupi Godinez -148. Jessica Andrade +124. BP. I'm going to keep it brief because of the connection. Who do you like here at 115?
Yeah, I like Lupi. I think Lupi's wrestling is going to set her apart. Her sister's an absolute beast wrestler. Jessica Andrade does not do well when she's on her back. Her takedown offense is pretty good, but when she gets on her back, it's a problem. Lupi's going to put her there. I like Lupi to finish. She's only got 2 finishes in UFC. Maybe this is going to be a third one, submission, rear naked choke, maybe head and arm. Give me Lupi.
Kenflo, Godinez did lose 2 fights previously. She got back in the win column, but this would be unquestionably a signature win, her biggest career win. Andrade set for her 30th UFC appearance and 41st pro fight overall. How do you see this one going down, Kenflo?
Yeah, both ladies here 2-2 in the last 4 fights. It's hard to know which one is going to show up. Both ladies a little bit inconsistent. I think if Godinez is able to get her wrestling in order, I think she wins this fight because I think she's the more technical striker overall. Andrade definitely has more power. So how that matches up if this fight does stay on the feet, I think it's going to be interesting. I think Godinez also probably has the better conditioning and patience. Andrade sometimes loses her patience and gets a little bit tired at times or frustrated at times. So tricky one, but I don't know why. I'm just kind of going with my gut here. I'm going to go the opposite here, Brian Petrie. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade. Will I put money on it? Stick around. We'll find out.
All right.
Stick around.
It is interesting because Andrade has these, perhaps by necessity, career resets, right? It's just like, I'll just go to flyweight. Maybe I'll go to bantamweight, right? But her UFC winning percentage is now down to 58%. She lost her last 2 at 25, has won her last 2 at 15. So we'll see what she has for Lupi Godinez this weekend. All right, next up in the lightweight division, the aforementioned Diego Ferreira -162, King Green +136. Ferreira's won 2 of 3, Bri, but those his only 3 fights since 2021, so hasn't been the most active party. What are your thoughts on him here against the fellow veteran King Green?
Yeah, a couple of vets I think are going to let it real hang out. I think it's going to look a lot like the Jim Miller fight where King Green fought, where they're just going to be like, you know what, we've been here, we've done this, let's throw down. I think Ferreira has the advantage on the ground. I think his submission game is obviously better, but I do think he has some really sneaky power in his hands. He has a lot of knockouts with his hands, and it's real, and his boxing is pretty crisp. I'm not worried about him being 40 years old. The number's low enough for me to play him. I like Ferreira here by knockout. I think King Green coming off 2 ugly losses. I know he didn't get knocked out by Paddy Pimblett, but he got knocked out by Rufy. He needs a big win here, but I think that chin has been tested. I think it's starting. You know, he's been in a lot of wars. Give me Diego by KO.
I love when he gives us a method of victory, not required, incidentally, here on the Anik and Florian podcast. Kenny, King Green will be 39 next month. Obviously, the vicious knockout, his last time out against Mauricio Rufy, that was in March at UFC 313. How do you see it playing out, Ken?
Yeah, both these guys have fought some really, really tough guys. I guess I'm just a little bit more impressed with Fajeda lately. And I agree with Brian. I think he's showing more improvements. I think he has more ways to win. And it's really, really tough to rely on what version of Bobby Green is going to show up, or King Green, I should say. So because of that, I'm going to go with Fajeda. I think if it does stay on the feet, I think he's got a great chance of winning here. Still, just can't get frustrated with that awkward style of King Green. But I actually think he's going to try to take this fight to the ground. I think that's where King Green is most vulnerable. We shall see.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the main card. And you know what I'm going to miss saying? That brings us to the main card, live on pay-per-view. In the flyweight division, Kai Asakura minus 305, Tim Elliott plus 245. So Asakura, as you guys well know, was vaulted into the championship fight against Pantoja in his UFC debut. Perhaps a more handleable challenge here against another former world title challenger, Tim Elliott. BP, go ahead.
Yeah, I like Asakura. I think he's a cool guy, right? He's got, he's got the blonde hair, he's got the swag, right? Like, he's a fun fighter, but he found out, right? He got thrown into the wolves and he fucking found out. The Pantoja fight was not even close. And you don't hang your head on that. Pantoja's one of the pound for pound best. He's an elite. You got thrown to the wolves, right? But now is your time to remake it up. Now's your time to show what you got. And I'm worried about his takedown defense. Notoriously, it's been bad. He's good at getting up. He's bad at stopping the takedowns. And Tim Elliott's a freak. Tim Elliott takes you down every which way. He's got that running single leg across the cage he gets you with, a double leg. He's a wild dude. He's got really interesting striking. Kai Asakura's got power, but his striking isn't the cleanest in the world. He throws big shots, what I can see Tim ducking under and getting takedowns there. I want Kai to win. I think we'll open up the freshness of the division. I like him, and he's from Japan, obviously, and the Japanese wrestling team right now, the Olympic team, the American, or excuse me, the Olympic team is so fucking good. They place at the World Games, they win at the Olympic Games. Train with those guys, work on your wrestling. Hopefully he's doing that, and then you're going to be an absolute murderer. I don't know if he's doing that. I don't know if it's too soon, too quick. Give me the dog and Tim Elliott, right? Tim Elliott's UFC proven. Kai Asakura, big step up, big number. If this number was a lot lower, obviously I'd be looking at Kai a little bit, but minus 305, which is going to climb a little bit. Little too chunky for your boy. Give me Tim Elliott.
Tim Elliott plus 245 can flow on DraftKings Sportsbook. He's 38 years of age, hasn't fought since a pretty memorable win over Sumu Darji. That was an arm triangle all the way back in 2023. Elliott 9-11 in his 2 UFC stints. This would be a huge win if he could get it. Kenny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it would be a huge win. And Tim Elliott has such an unorthodox style that is really hard to plan for. This guy trains extremely hard as well. And yeah, I think he's got a lot of tools. And, on the other side of things, it's hard to write off someone like Asakura. Why? I mean, his UFC debut was against Pantoja. No shame in losing to someone like Pantoja. I think Pantoja is just different. And I do know that Asakura does really work on his wrestling. But I agree with Brian. Right now, as far as the lightweight class, Japan has maybe the best team in the world right now. Yeah, they're unbelievable. So he definitely should be getting some training in with those guys. So I don't know, man. I think Asakura is the more explosive striker. And as far as timing his strikes, Tim Elliott really needs to be careful with the style of Asakura as well, because he throws a lot of things at you that most guys don't throw. So I'm leaning the way of Asakura. I agree with Brian. The number's a little high, but I'm going to go with the Japanese fighter here.
Sometimes things get lost in translation, but Asakura came across to me as very cocky. Now, cocky can be a good thing in sport. I would suggest to you guys that Ilia Topuria is confident, but not really arrogant nor cocky. And I think nothing worse in life than being cocky without a cause. I think Asakura may actually have a cause to be cocky, but Elliott, not a guy you want to be overconfident against. All right, middleweight division, Michael Venom Page minus 185, Jared Cannonier plus 154. So MVP Bry 2-1 in the UFC, coming off a great win over Shara Bullet earlier this year. He's been a great addition to the roster in 2 divisions. And if he can beat the still a problem killer gorilla here. He's in middleweight title contention. What are your thoughts on this one, Bri?
Yeah, to be honest, when this fight came together, I was like, I don't know how I felt about it, right? It was a weird feeling. I'm like, is that going to be a good fight? Because, I see MVP as a 170 fighter, right? Not a 185. And Jared Cannonier is every bit of 185 pounds. The guy's bricked up, right? But then the more I thought about it, the more I did tape study, I'm like, oh, this could be a fun fight because Cannonier is not the fastest guy in the world. No one can replicate MVP in the training room. So the only way to really get after MVP, pressure, wrestling, leg kicks, rough him up, right? It's the only way, but his footwork's so good, it's hard to do that. And Cannonier lacking the speed. How do you combat someone's speed? You touch the body, you break that distance, you create your own distance, and that's what he's got to do. And I think that's going to create a really fun fight here. And I think MVP, I've been a fan of him outside the UFC, right? I know he got this label, oh, he's beating up cans or whatever. I think he's an elite guy. I think he's a fun guy. But the one thing we haven't seen in the UFC yet is that one signature knockout, that special knockout.
Right.
He holds up the fucking venom. He does all the goofy, cool shit, with his big personality. As a fan, as a guy that's going to be live, I want to see that. So I'm going MVP. I'm going MVP by KO as well. I think the forward pressure by Jared Cannonier, who's trying to catch MVP, I think he's going to run into something. Jared Cannonier's been shook in the last few fights as well. His chin's solid, but he has been put down before. He has been put out before. And I think MVP is a guy that can do it with just his style. So I like MVP. I like him by KO, and I like the low number as well, minus 185.
Man, if you're one of these fellow contenders, Bohalio, Imavov, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who's going to have wheels on the ground in Chicago, right? You do not want Michael Venom Page to head kick knockout Jared Cannonier in 2 minutes because then all of a sudden all hell might break loose. Now, Cannonier's an interesting case, Kenny, and I'm not sure how history is going to look back upon him. Hopefully fondly. He's 41 years of age. 11-8 in the UFC, so the winning percentage, 57%, not great, I guess, overall, but an amazing strength of schedule. Rally to beat Gregory Rodriguez earlier this year, right? A young, hungry up-and-comer who's a monster. And that was his 6th consecutive main event or title fight. So 3 rounds now for Cannonier. Territory he's not used to. How do you handicap his matchup with Michael Venom Page?
Yeah, Brian, I think you're right, man. I think that Cannonier has a ton of great experience, John, but that also can be his undoing as well. I think he's been in a lot of wars, and we're seeing a slowing down of Cannonier anyway. There was a time where he had this iron chin, and now we're seeing, him a little bit vulnerable in that regard. And that's not a great sign because as Brian, gave his phenomenal analysis, I couldn't agree more. In order to win this fight, he's got to pressure. In order for MVP to look at his best, he needs someone to pressure. So I think that opens up MVP to look very, very good here. And while Cannonier can win this fight, he has to be extremely careful. He kind of has 2 paths. He stays on the outside and tries to outpoint MVP. Probably is going to lose that because of that lack of speed. Or he pressures, tries to back up MVP and take away his offense, or he gets counterstruck with something big. So I don't love this fight for him. I'm with Brian here. I like MVP.
All right, featured bout in the welterweight division, Carlos Prates minus 258, Jeff Neal plus 210. So Prates, Brian, trying to sort of spin it forward to the positive here after his first UFC loss, came to Ian Machado Gary back in April. But there's kind of a but, right? I mean, 2 weeks before that fight, he was supposed to face Jeff Neal in a 3-rounder. Neal had to pull out. Prates steps into a main event against Ian Machado Gary. So, and now stepping in to fight Neal upon his return. I think Prates deserves some acknowledgement for that. But we need to pick, Bri. Who do you love?
Yeah, Prates is a fucking animal, right? That dude deserves all the props in the world. The Ian Gary fight really surprised me because my analysis, I was worried about the cardio. I mean, this guy's smoking cigarettes, partying all the time. He looked better when the fight went on. I mean, he kind of was stagnant. He had some slow moments, but when you watch that fight in the 4th and 5th round, like he was still fucking dangerous going for it. That's not what I saw pre-fight. So that's impressive to me. And Jeff Neal, I'm glad they rebooked this fight because both these guys are going to stand up and they're going to let it all hang out. Jeff Neal fought kind of a lackluster performance against Ian Gary. I know he split decision. He thought he might have won, but he just didn't let it go. The fight before that against Rachmanov, he let it go and he ended up getting finished. So I think that played in his head against Gary. He's obviously coming off the last one against RDA, who had, I believe, a leg injury. So say what you want. But I think just to come down to striking, I think Jeff Neal's a great southpaw. I think his boxing is very good. I think his counter left hand's beautiful. His combinations are pretty good when he leads. He touches the body really well. But Pratis got that Thai style, the long legs. He uses all his weapons. Jeff Neal's got the biggest kick in the world. He's got a pretty decent head kick, but Pratis is going to mix it up. Not to mention he's got absolutely devastating power in his hands, and his clinch game is really nasty. Jeff Neal's pretty good in the clinch as well, but Pratis is a dog in there. And I think Pratis, with a little bit of hype that he had, or a lot of hype that he had, I think some of it dropped a little bit. People still love him, but I think he wants that back. And now you get a huge crowd in fucking Chicago, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, one incredible card. He's going to show out. And I like Carlos Pratis here. I like him by KO as well. Jeff Neal doesn't get put out by many people. One guy KO'd him back in the regional scene. That was a guy named Kevin Holland. So he doesn't get put out a lot. Submission, sure. KO, not much. But I think Pratis is going to go out there and go for the kill and KO Jeff Neal.
Are we so societally uptight that if Carlos Pratis wins, he can't smoke a cigarette on top of the Octagon?
Do it. I would love it. You know what I mean?
Kenny, who do you like in the fight?
I think he should be smoking while the fight's going on myself. I think it's ridiculous. I love this fight. I'm with you, Brian. I think that both these guys with their styles, I think it's going to be an entertaining one. Jeff Neal concerns me just because this guy has so much talent and so much potential, but there's times where I feel like he hesitates too much and kind of doubts himself a little bit at times. Carlos Pratis is not the guy you want to go in there with any doubt. You have to commit to what you're doing, or Pratis is going to make you pay. And I think that hesitancy tends to exacerbate when he faces guys that are a little bit taller, a little lankier. It's hard for him to get on the inside and kind of commit. And for that reason, I like Pratis here as well.
All right, co-main event in the featherweight division. The UFC debut has arrived for Aaron Pico. It was to happen in Abu Dhabi against Movsar Evloev, instead debuting a few weeks later. And he will do so, Bryce, a minus 166 betting favorite against the undefeated Miracle, Lerone Murphy, who comes back plus 140. BP, who do you like in the co-main event?
So I don't want to shortchange Lerone Murphy, but I'm going to be talking a lot about Aaron Pico. So let me get the Lerone Murphy positive out of the way. He's looked phenomenal his last 3 fights. His main event against Edson Barboza, incredible. The volume was there. Takedown defense was there against Josh Emmett. He looked really good. His cardio has shown up. He picks his shots really well. Undefeated fighter, deserves this co-main event here. I love him. But if you dig up to the old BP's Twitter, there are a lot of tweets about Aaron Pico. I like this kid. This guy's been through everything. He's young still, and he's such a phenom in a weird sense. I hate saying that word. I don't think I've ever said it, but it's weird. Like, his wrestling's so good, his jiu-jitsu's good, his boxing's really good. Everyone that trains with him says this guy's work ethic is next level. You ever seen the guy with his shirt off? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, the guy doesn't take a day off. And then he's been through everything with his MMA career, which I like. His debut with a ton of hype because guillotine choked. Then he goes and he beats some people, gets knocked out twice in a row. Right? Then he goes on a huge run, blows his shoulder out in a fight. He's been through it all. He's lost. He's not this undefeated prospect with his head's in the cloud that doesn't know how to lose. 11 of his 13 wins are all by finish as well. So the guy's a finisher as well. On top of that, his wrestling is great. His ground and pound's even better. His stand-up's really good. His boxing's good. Chin is the only thing I'm concerned about. If Lerone Murphy sits down on something, Aaron Pico can, his defense isn't high level yet. It's getting there, obviously, with the Jackson team. But if he takes a shot clean on the chin by Lerone Murphy, that's going to concern me because we haven't seen that yet. He's been a steamrolling everybody. But I think Pico is a phenomenal guy. I was bummed out that he was fighting Evloev in Abu Dhabi. And then all of a sudden, hey, I get to see him live now, which is fantastic. I like Aaron Pico here. I don't want to shortchange Lerone Murphy. I think Lerone Murphy is a phenomenal dog pick, right? Because this is one of those things where Pico coming in, UFC, this is the fucking show, right? We've seen it. Patchy Mix didn't have a great performance. He's a high-level guy. This is the fucking show, right? So Lerone Murphy's been there. Let's see if Aaron Pico can step up and get it done. I think he can. I like Aaron Pico. I like him a lot. Yes.
Yeah, his story is crazy, Kenny. Pico makes his pro debut under the Bellator banner at Madison Square Garden in 2017. He gets submitted in 24 seconds. Brian did a nice job sort of setting up everything that he has been through. But a blue chip prospect in MMA maybe ceases to exist. Now he's finally in the UFC trying to take Lerone Murphy's How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, well, a lot of people were excited when he got into MMA because he was the under-17 world champion in wrestling. He was an Olympic alternate when he was in his early teens still. So it's really, really impressive from an athlete perspective what this guy has accomplished already. But I think that sometimes he gets a little reckless. He gets a little excited. And unfortunately, he took some fights early on that he had no business taking. People got too excited about him. And, him and his management took the wrong fights. I do think he's a much better fighter now, and I think he should be taken way more seriously. But fighting a guy like Lerone Murphy, even on relative short notice, I think is a big challenge for him. And when I look at this fight and I see, who the underdog is, Lerone Murphy, a guy who is a proven fighter in this weight class against really tough guys, I like Lerone Murphy here. And yes, Aaron Pico can win this fight, but I think Lerone Murphy is a very interesting underdog bet here.
Nice.
We'll see if Carl Prince is smiling, even though Ateba Gautier won't be with him in Chicago, or maybe he will be there in the corner of Lerone Murphy. All right, main event. Take a deep breath, folks. Undisputed middleweight titles on the line. We always list the favored fighter first. That is Khamzat Chimaev. The challenger is minus 225. Dricus du Plessis comes back plus 185. Du Plessis, Bri, as you well know, has twice successfully defended the title, and now trying to do so as a decided underdog against the 14-0 Chechenian Khamzat Chimaev, BP, who leaves United Center as the undisputed UFC middleweight champ.
I mean, what a fight, right? I've turned the corner on both these guys, right? Like Chimaev, I'm like, he's just a one-round guy. And then he goes out there and destroys, everybody. DDP's got that awkward style. It's whatever. I was negative on him, and it's effective. It's what he is. It's how he fights. Man, I can't wait for this. I watched the Countdown show. I've watched all the DDP's fights, all the Chimaev's fights. And I mean, obviously, the most obvious thing to say in the world is Chimaev's a really good one-round fighter. How is he look after round one? But he's with the right people. He's in America now. He's training with the right people. I think he's going to look good after round one, right? I don't think that's a narrative we can talk about, but I think DDP only gets better after round one. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chimaev is. There's a lot of shit talking going on, but not really by each other. The coaches, right? Khabib's like, hey, this dude Chimaev should stand up with DDP. DDP's coaches, I'm not going to license this guy with his stand up, which I think is absurd to say. But like, he's like, we're ready for the wrestling. We're ready for but is he ready for a stand up? I love the confidence on both sides here. I think Chimaev's doing everything right that he needs to do. He seems healthy. He seems to be in shape. And it's interesting. I'm going to see how he does because DDP is going to give up takedowns. How is DDP's submission defense? How is all that? He's never been submitted before, but let's see how his defense is, right? And DDP is just such a big, strong guy. I think he's going to be able to work himself up. Is Chimaev going to abandon the takedowns and just work his striking, which I think is pretty good? It's primarily boxing, but it's pretty good. But he's hard to get a hold of, DDP, that rhythm that he does. He's so awkward in the beginning. His rhythm's not there yet. It takes him a little bit to find his own rhythm and then throws off everyone else. The Israel Adesanya fight really opened my eyes on how great this guy is and how just a bull of a man he is, how strong and determined and mentally fortitude and everything, with that long being said, listen, I could go on and on for this. I can break this down every which way, but I'm going to go with my gut. I mean, I think there's a 50-50 fight. I really, truly do. But my gut says DDP is going to retain. I think, later the fight goes. I think he has been there. The lights are bright, and he's fought under that. And he's the dog here, too, as well. I need to chase money. And I just think DDP at dog money at this time in his career where he's red hot, I think that's a lot of value. So give me Dricus du Plessis to retain the title.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm not an odds maker, right? I don't always predict what the line is going to be effectively, but I do, like Brian, sort of see this as sort of a 50-50 proposition. I feel like it's kind of a pick-em fight, and yet Chimaev is minus 225 and climbing. Can't wait to see how it plays out. The time is now for your prediction, Ken.
DDP is a really difficult guy to predict because, as he was coming up, you're looking at some of his fights and you're saying, well, he's doing this wrong. This looks very different from what everybody else is doing. And that the timing is awkward. And surely he's going to come across a fighter eventually that beats him. And everyone's like, Sean Strickland's going to be that guy. Sean Strickland, he does all these things. He's beating all these guys. He has all the experience. And then what happens? He goes out and beats Strickland. I think he did that injured. Goes out and rematches Strickland. Beats him again, convincingly, in dominant fashion. And then you're like, well, there's the Whitaker guy, clearly Whitaker, the former champion, he's going to beat him. He's the better fighter. Well, he couldn't do it. He got dominated in round two by by DDP. And then, of course, Adesanya, an elegant fighter, a guy with a ton of experience, a knockout artist. He does this and that. It's beautiful to watch him fight. Well, he couldn't get it done against DDP. DDP goes out and finishes him. So Dricus du Plessis is a fighter that has only gotten better. He faces better competition, and we see him rise to the occasion. I love that. But he's going against a guy in Khamzat Chimaev who has come on the scene similar to a Conor McGregor, where there's an energy around his fights. It's just different. I think Ilia Topuria kind of has that as well now. But I think Khamzat kind of had that on fight one. You're just like, what am I watching? Who is this guy? What kind of athlete is this dude? So I think he could absolutely be a superstar with this win. I think he's almost there already without it. But he has an offensive firepower that is going to be really difficult to beat. How is Chimaev defensively, though? I'm not sure we really know. It could be that he's just that good. It could be that his wrestling is head and shoulders above every single person in that division, and he's going to make it look easy against every person in that division. I don't think DDP is an easy fight, though. And while Chimaev absolutely can win this fight, I think he can win it early. I think he can win it in the middle of the fight. And I think he can win it at the end of the fight. But you can't doubt someone like DDP. I think they are truly built different down in South Africa. Just they're used to adversity. They have a quiet strength and confidence about them. And I think DDP says it best about his style. He's not the best at striking. He's not the best at submissions. He's not the best at wrestling, but he may be the best at MMA. And right now I'm going to favor him. I think his size, his durability are going to be the X factors here. But Chimaev, with his explosiveness, his speed, his athleticism, and of course his what I think is a superior skill set, is going to be a lot for DDP to handle. But I got to go with the truly proven commodity here in Dricus du Plessis. But either way, I think it's going to be a banger of a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Nicely handled, gentlemen. Dricus du Plessis is plus 185 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. And that brings us to our final act, just a few days out before UFC 319. Place your bets, brought to you by JonAnik.com and KennyFlorian.com, where you can get 15% off your order of show-supporting merchandise with promo code OneMoreSleep. All right, we will update the standings quickly. Team Florian was north of $1,600 to the positive. You lost $500 on Roman Dolidze, but your $500 bet on Yasmin Lucindo hit page at 260.42. Lost a couple of $100, but year to date, still about $1,400 to the positive. Team Petrie, put your whole $1,000 stack on Angela Hill. We like the conviction, but came up short there. So, yeah, your number is very red, Brian, but the good news is you have $3,000 to spend in UFC 319. So fire away, my man.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting really exotic. I'm going to do a little more exotic stuff than what I'm comfortable with. But let me just get the bare bones out of the way. $1,000 on Dricus du Plessis at plus 185. I like that number. All these are plus money, by the way. Give me a little three-legger, Johnny. A little three-legger parlay. Let's go Chase Hooper. Let's go to the guy we didn't talk about, GM3, because I think he's going to look good. And then Loopy, that currently right now on DraftKings is plus 505. Let me get $1,000 on that as well, John.
Woo!
And then we got some KO props here. Give me MVP KO and prop this KO. I don't have that number for you yet, but that's $500 on that.
Is that a two-leg parlay?
Two-leg parlay. MVP KO and prop this KO. I'll give you the number on that. And then another parlay we're going to mix up. We're going to go submission parlay. Chase Hooper by submission, GM3 by submission, another $500.
Yo.
Now we're cooking with gas. All right, Ken Flo, you got 3 G's to spend. What are we doing at UFC 319?
Yo, BP ain't playing. He ain't playing.
We're coming, Bob.
Damn, dude. All right, well, I'm going to go Fajeda for 1,000. Let's go Asakura for 500.
Wow.
Let's go MVP for 1,000. And let's go Lerone Murphy for 500. Let's go.
Damn. Nicely done. 4 straight wagers for Ken Flo, Diego Fajeda, Kai Asakura, Michael Venom Page, and Lerone Murphy. Plenty more from Petrie later in the week on the MMA Takes podcast, my man. Much love to the Chief Capper. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Johnny, hopefully, I know you're busy in Chicago. I just need 5 seconds of time to get that bro hug. Is Jason going to be in Chi-Town?
He'll be there.
Awesome. So
he'll
yeah,
be so far up Bilal Muhammad's ass, you might not be able to find him.
I figured he was going to be there because it's Bilal's home city, but I want to ask. I know you're busy, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but listen, maybe fight day, just bro hug it up real quick. Doesn't matter. Sure. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah. But I'll be in the city of Chicago this weekend giving out high fives. So I'm getting there Friday, leaving Sunday. Let's have a good time, people. All right?
Look forward to seeing you there. Big on Brian Petrie.
All right, see you, bud.
With us on the Anik and Florian podcast. Yeah, maybe we can somehow peel Jay out of Bilal's ass for a couple minutes for you to say hello. It is interesting, right? Because my friendship with Bilal Muhammad is well documented, right? But when we have Bilal on this program, as we often do, and you know this, I asked him, like, why would you say Dricus du Plessis sucks when you know that's not founded in truth or whatever? And Bilal responded in kind, right? But it's not as though when Bilal comes on here, I don't challenge him. And when Dricus comes out and says how much he hates Bilal, a lot of it's rooted in the fact that Bilal shouldn't have said, like, DDP sucks when he's not in the UFC and has literally legend after legend in his wake. So I love all these guys. I love all these guys. And we love all of you for supporting the show. We appreciate that. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrow. Thanks to Jason Anik putting it all together. Thanks to Big Gun Brian Petrie and Ray Longo. And, of course, Ken Flo. We are going to be back to recap it all. Hopefully, if you are in Chicago, you will be with us at Wrigley Field, DraftKings Sportsbook Live on Friday night. With that, for Ken Flo, I'm Jon Anik signing off for now. We'll talk to you next Monday. Until then, have a great day and a better evening. See you
later. Kenny Florian, I got him, baby. We did it. I love this shit.